Ladies and gentlemen, my name is An Duong and my colleague is Lu Hung. We are from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment of Vietnam. Today, we would like to present about Vietnam carbon market development at the workshop on connectivity of Asian Voluntary Carbon Markets. Vietnam is advancing its carbon market to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and support a low-carbon economy. This initiative is part of a broader effort to connect with voluntary carbon markets across Asia, fostering regional collaboration and enhancing climate action. The world faces three major crises: climate change, environmental pollution, and biodiversity loss, all of which threaten our planet and humanity. In response, global trade and investment are increasingly focused on sustainability. Companies must now report on sustainability metrics like carbon, water, and biodiversity footprints, and new trade agreements prioritize environmental protection. Regulations, such as the EU's Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism and anti-deforestation laws, are reshaping global trade to emphasize sustainability. Businesses must adapt to these changes, align with new standards, and embrace sustainability to thrive in the evolving global economy. Sustainable development seeks to balance economic growth with environmental stewardship by using resources responsibly and efficiently, transitioning to a low-carbon, resource-efficient economy. It emphasizes the conservation and restoration of natural assets, ecosystems, and biodiversity, aiming to preserve natural capital. Additionally, sustainable development focuses on improving people's quality of life by enhancing health, happiness, and social justice through targeted environmental policies. By implementing these policies and capitalizing on the opportunities within the green economy, it creates an environment conducive to green innovation, investment, trade, and competitiveness. In the 2023 Green Future Index, Vietnam was ranked 53rd out of 76 countries, reflecting its ongoing efforts in building a green economy. According to the Global Green Economy Index, GGEI, which ranks and evaluates the green economy of 160 countries based on 18 indicators related to environment, climate change, carbon emission reduction, and green investment, Vietnam ranked 79th globally and 3rd in ASEAN in 2022. The country made significant progress, ranking 29th in terms of improvement in these indicators, though it still ranked 94th in terms of its distance to achieving global sustainability goals. Greenhouse gas emissions represent the total output of gases that contribute to global warming. According to Our World in Data, Vietnam's per capita greenhouse gas emissions currently stand at 6.3 tons of carbon dioxide equivalents. Specifically, carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuels and industry, excluding land use change, are 3.31 tons per person in Vietnam, based on a 2022 population of 99,680,655. This marks a slight decrease of -0.12 tons from 2021, reflecting a -3.6% reduction in per capita CO2 emissions. Vietnam's share of the world's total carbon dioxide emissions is 0.9%. For millions of years, the global carbon cycle maintained a delicate balance with nature, ensuring a stable climate. However, the advent of industrialization, coupled with rapid urbanization, economic growth, and population expansion over the past 150 years, has disrupted this equilibrium. These human activities have significantly increased greenhouse gas emissions, leading to a rise in the global average temperature to levels not seen for thousands of years. This unprecedented warming is now driving profound changes in Earth's climate system, with far-reaching impacts on ecosystems and human societies. We employ a variety of economic instruments to address environmental challenges and promote sustainable development. The carbon market plays a crucial role, encompassing both compliance markets, which are regulated by government mandates, and voluntary markets, where businesses and individuals can choose to offset their carbon emissions. Carbon credits and offsets are integral to these markets, enabling the trading of emission reductions to meet targets. Additionally, green bonds and green loans provide financing for projects that have positive environmental outcomes, such as renewable energy or conservation efforts. The circular economy further supports sustainability by emphasizing resource efficiency, waste reduction, and the continuous use of materials, thereby minimizing the environmental impact of economic activities. Together, these instruments create a comprehensive approach to fostering a more sustainable and resilient global economy. Towards a green future, pivotal international conferences have shaped our environmental policies and ambitions. The 1972 United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm set the stage for global environmental awareness. This was followed by the 1992 Rio Earth Summit, which established foundational principles for sustainable development. The 1997 Kyoto Protocol introduced binding emission reduction targets, while the 2015 Paris Climate Accords set global goals for limiting temperature rise and enhancing climate resilience. The 2021 Glasgow Net Zero Summit further emphasized the urgent need for comprehensive carbon reduction strategies. Carbon markets have become a critical tool in this journey, facilitating the trading of emission reductions and supporting the transition towards a more sustainable future. Emissions trading systems, ETS, have become a global strategy for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, as outlined by the International Carbon Action Partnership, ICAP, in 2021. These systems operate by capping total emissions and allowing entities to trade emission allowances, providing economic incentives for reducing pollution. Various regions and countries have implemented their own ETS, such as the European Union Emission Trading Scheme, California's Cap-and-Trade program, and China's national ETS. These diverse systems contribute to the global effort to mitigate climate change by harnessing market mechanisms to drive emissions reductions and promote cleaner technologies. Emissions trading systems, ETS, vary in their sector coverage, with each system targeting different industries and greenhouse gas, GHG, emission sources. Typically, ETS cover major sectors such as power generation, industrial processes, and transportation, as these are significant contributors to GHG emissions. For instance, the European Union Emissions Trading System, EU ETS, includes power and heat generation, energy-intensive industries, and aviation. Similarly, California's Cap-and-Trade program covers power plants, industrial facilities, and fuel distributors. Sector-specific coverage ensures that the largest emitters are included in the trading system, which helps in achieving substantial emissions reductions. For example, power generation and industrial sectors are major contributors to carbon dioxide, CO2, emissions, while transportation and agriculture also play significant roles, though they might be covered differently depending on the region. By targeting these key sectors, ETS can drive changes towards more sustainable practices and technologies, thereby contributing to broader climate goals. Sustainability regulations and carbon markets are increasingly shaping trade, investment, and corporate practices worldwide. New rules and regulations are being introduced to ensure that sustainability considerations are integral to trade and investment decisions. Recent free trade agreements, FTAs, now often include requirements for sustainability and inclusivity, reflecting a global commitment to environmental and social standards. Key legislative frameworks include the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, and the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, CSDDD, which mandate comprehensive reporting and due diligence on sustainability impacts. The EU Deforestation Regulation, EUDR, aims to prevent the import of products linked to deforestation, while the EU Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM, seeks to address carbon leakage by imposing a carbon price on imports. In the US, the Clean Competition Act promotes cleaner and more efficient practices in industries. The EU Emissions Trading System, EU ETS, has evolved through several development stages since its inception in 2005, expanding coverage and tightening emissions caps to enhance its effectiveness in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. These regulations and market mechanisms collectively drive progress towards a more sustainable and resilient global economy. Compliance schemes for managing greenhouse gas emissions include carbon taxes and emissions trading schemes, ETS, each with distinct approaches and mechanisms. A carbon tax imposes a price set by the government for each ton of greenhouse gases, GHGs, emitted by covered organizations. The specific requirements and tax rates can vary by jurisdiction, but the tax incentivizes emitters to reduce their emissions by increasing the cost of emitting. In contrast, an emissions trading scheme, ETS, operates on a cap-and-trade basis. Under an ETS, organizations are allocated a certain number of emission allowances or caps. Those that emit less than their allowance can sell their surplus allowances on a marketplace, while those exceeding their cap must purchase additional allowances. The market dynamics determine the price of allowances, creating a financial incentive for organizations to lower their emissions to either sell excess allowances or avoid purchasing additional ones. Both schemes aim to drive emission reductions but utilize different methods to achieve this goal. Disclosure requirements for environmental and sustainability information are becoming more structured and mandatory across various jurisdictions. Typically, companies are required to include relevant sustainability and environmental impact data in their annual reports, covering aspects such as greenhouse gas emissions and energy usage. Some regulations or company policies may also mandate quarterly updates on sustainability performance. Additionally, corporate social responsibility (CSR) reports, often produced annually or biannually, detail a company's sustainability practices and progress. Specific legislative frameworks, such as the EU Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive (CSRD) and the EU Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism (CBAM), set deadlines for comprehensive reporting on sustainability matters and carbon content in imports. In the U.S., the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) requires climate-related risk disclosures in annual filings. Companies might also need to provide ad hoc reports in response to significant events or regulatory changes. Many businesses voluntarily participate in reporting frameworks like the Global Reporting Initiative (GRI) or the Carbon Disclosure Project (CDP), adhering to their specific guidelines and schedules. The timing and content of these disclosures can vary widely depending on local regulations, industry standards, and company policies. Regulations across the Asia-Pacific region are increasingly focusing on sustainability and environmental protection as governments recognize the urgent need to address climate change and promote sustainable development. Countries within APAC are implementing more stringent regulations related to carbon emissions, energy efficiency, and environmental disclosures. For instance, China has introduced ambitious targets for reducing carbon intensity and expanding its emissions trading system. Similarly, Japan has set a goal to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, driving stricter regulations on emissions and energy use. India is also ramping up its regulatory efforts with enhanced standards for air quality and energy efficiency, as well as increasing transparency in corporate environmental reporting. South Korea has established a comprehensive Green New Deal, incorporating stricter emission standards and promoting sustainable investment. Across the region, regulatory frameworks are being strengthened to align with global climate agreements and national commitments, leading to a more robust approach to environmental management and sustainability. This growing regulatory landscape reflects a broader regional shift towards integrating environmental considerations into economic and business practices. The Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, EU, effective from May 1, 2023, requires companies to start reporting in the 2024 financial year. The U.S. Securities Exchange Commission's Enhancement and Standardization of Climate-Related Disclosures, released on June 3, 2024, mandates reporting to begin in 2026. Similarly, the EU's Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation also requires companies to report starting in the 2024 financial year. In Australia, the climate-related financial disclosure legislation, now mandatory from July 1, 2024, will be phased in over time. The Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, TCFD, mandates reporting for Scope 1 and 2 emissions, while Scope 3 is encouraged if deemed material and relevant. The International Sustainability Standards Board and the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, both require disclosure of Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. However, GRI notes that while these disclosures are required, a report can still be considered complete if some requirements are excluded. The Sustainability Accounting Standards Board encourages but does not mandate reporting on Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. In Australia, several key legislative acts are designed to reduce carbon emissions and promote sustainability. The National Greenhouse and Energy Reporting Act 2007 mandates emissions reporting by corporations and government bodies, informing emissions reduction policies. The Clean Energy Act 2011 introduced a carbon pricing mechanism and established the Clean Energy Finance Corporation, CFC, and the Australian Renewable Energy Agency, ARENA, to support renewable energy development. The Renewable Energy, Electricity, Act 2000 created the Renewable Energy Target, RET, requiring a percentage of electricity to come from renewable sources. The Emissions Reduction Fund Safeguard Mechanism Act 2015 sets emissions baselines for large emitters to encourage reductions. The Climate Change Authority Act 2011 established the Climate Change Authority, CCA, to advise on climate policy. Additional acts include the Energy Efficiency Opportunities Act 2006, which mandates energy savings evaluations for large corporations, and the Fuel Quality Standards Act 2000, which improves fuel quality to reduce transport emissions. These regulations reflect Australia's multifaceted approach to tackling carbon emissions and advancing environmental sustainability.